Okay, here we go. I am Ryan with Friendly Shoes, and I'm proud to introduce Joseph DiFrancisco, the inventor and founder of Friendly Shoes, an occupational therapist, a wrestler, hardworking guy, and a great father who is sincere in helping others. Also with us today, we're pleased to host and present Colin Duthie. Colin is a globally recognized disability advocate who leads through action. He's part of the Friendly team as a Friendly ambassador. He's got a powerful story and some deep insight into how to live actively and really overcome all kinds of challenges. So, gentlemen, thank you for taking time to do this Q&A. I think that everyone at our virtual booth here at the Abilities Expo is going to enjoy it. So take it away.
Go.
Thank you, Ryan, for that wonderful introduction. As he said, I'm Joseph. I'm an occupational therapist by trade. I hope you all had the wonderful experience of hearing Colin's story, super powerful of how he overcame life's adversities, had a motor vehicle accident, had an amputation, and just how he approaches life after that experience with attitude and perception. Some really strong words there. With that said, Colin, perhaps we can move forward with kind of the story of how you ended up working with Friendly Shoes. We are super appreciative to have you.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, Joseph. My story with shoes goes back some 36 years. I mean, since I lost my leg, I've got more shoes now than I ever had when I had two legs. The irony is you're always searching for that elusive pair of shoes or single shoe that you can get from some company which never exists. So over the years, I've had multiple shoes sent to me. None of them work, frankly. And it's a weird one. Believe it or not, 15 years ago, roughly, I was at a soul night, a soul night. And at that, I was dancing in my dance floor, and doing my thing in my wheelchair, doing my wheelies, all that kind of stuff, looking cool. Hey, man, all of that. And when I came off the dance floor, my sister, Angela, knew a random guy called Lee Mackey. I didn't know him. So I'm sitting chatting with my sister, and then Lee sits at the table and chatting. How you doing? I'm Lee. Oh, how you doing? I'm Colin. And then he comes out with, so mate, where'd you get your shoes? I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean, where'd I get my shoes? I said, well, he was like, so what do you do? I mean, you've only got the one leg. Do you get one shoe or do you have to buy a pair? And that's where we started the conversation 15 years ago. And Lee's like, so wait a minute, you have to buy two shoes. I said, well, it's either that or I steal them out of a shop window, and that's not going to work. It'd be illegal. So I ended up thinking, goodness. And I said, sorry, can I ask you, Lee, why are you so interested? And he's like, mate, I'm a shoe man. And I was like, well, is this a fetish or what? And he's like, no, I'm a shoe man. I design shoes, I make shoes, whatever. And I was like, you're kidding. So we had this conversation about shoes and about the difficulty I had about finding one shoe. Could never really find anybody that could produce that way back in the day. And then literally a month ago, I got a Facebook request from a Lee Mackey. And I'm like, Lee Mackey, I know that name. And it was, hey, dude, how you doing? It's Lee here from the Soul Night. And I was like, what? They said, I'm the guy with the shoes, remember? And I was like, oh, my Lord. I said, yeah, how are you doing, mate? He said, you don't believe this. I've got a company that can get you a single shoe. I was like, 15 years, seriously. And I was like, oh, my Lord. He said, no, Friendly Shoes. They've got this incredible system with their shoes. They've got Zappos, they've got all these other things. But Friendly Shoes make this incredible shoe. You need to try it on. And of course, that's where we are now. So we're now in a process where I cannot wait to get a shot at one of these Friendly Shoes. The zipper thing at the side, which I've never seen before, and just can't wait. It'll be fantastic. It's a whole new era for me. Be able to buy one shoe without one of them going in the bin. Simple.
A long time coming, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Colin. It's the ability to accommodate, 1 foot, the ability to get off sizing shoes too for accommodating the prosthetic on the opposite side if you like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things that, when we started Friendly Shoes years ago, I was still practicing as an OT, but it was important to kind of highlight the being different, the being friendly, being yourself, and solving footwear challenges, and not only the singles program, but the ease of access. And that's how we kind of
Definitely
got on this journey with that rear easy shoe access, and through more and more feedback, which Colin has helped us with in this last month a lot. We've came forward with another type of easy shoe access in the front too. Accommodating different people's needs, and just the thought that goes behind the shoe, the material choice, the type of grasp, the pull mechanism that we have on the pull tab for the ease of closing the shoe.
See that? I don't know if I've got the right to say this because I don't know that many other companies, but this is where I see the difference, Joseph, that you just said there, the kind of the thought behind the shoe. There's a lot of people will think about the shoe from a functionality perspective, make it easier to put the shoe on. However, what I've found with Friendly Shoes is it's friendly people behind it. I know that sounds patronizing, but I really mean that. I have seen the passion that from you and Ryan and Tamara, I think maybe your name is, and others, that your passion is not clinical. You're clinically led. However, your passion and understanding, and above all, your empathy for the needs of your client. That is what I see as a standalone, personally. And that's why, the questions you've asked me already, because I want to purchase a shoe whenever I can get one, all the questions you asked are all functional. But behind that, I can see that there's a heart behind that, somebody that wants to make it right for somebody else. And that's what we do in a community, is help others. And that's what impresses me about what you guys do.
No, thank you so much. Once upon a time when I was practicing, I identified a superpower. I think often this superpower, people forget to do it with social medias and the constant expression, but the superpower that I found was listening. I mean,
absolutely.
There is no one shoe that fits all. We don't believe it. There are different people with different challenges that have different life experiences, and the ability to listen to these experiences, make adjustments. That's just part of our friendly message. With the listening, just make a lot of mistakes, and that's how you making these adjustments off your mistakes, being humble, not having an ego. It's just super important. The lives that we lived, you suffering the incident, and having these barriers to your activities, daily living, like the nitty gritty. And
absolutely.
Getting down to the
For
nitty.
me, it's great when I think of all the things I've been involved in my life, and I've done quite a few things. It's the day-to-day things, the small things that will annoy you most, like trying to put on a shoe. And, I can climb mountains, I can race cars, I can ride my motorbike, I can do all of that. If I can't put my shoe on, I can't go outside. You know what I mean? So it really is about the smaller things in life give you the greatest benefit. You know what I mean? My bathroom is modified and adapted for my needs, but I've still fallen in it 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? It's just trying to get the right piece of equipment. Adaptive equipment for me is not about fixing the person. It's about fixing the environment. And that environment could be your foot in terms of a shoe. You know what I mean? I've only got 1 foot. I don't walk with 2 feet. I walk with 1 foot with crutches. If I make a mistake, pick the wrong shoe with the wrong sole, the wrong fitment, I fall in my face. I've broken one wrist and an elbow in the past by falling. So finding a shoe that's got the right sole, the right instep, the right insole, the right sort of strength around about the heel area and all the other bits. And I'm sure there are plenty of other shoes that do that, but I haven't really found them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, the ease of access component is super important. You know, when
Yeah.
you are in your activity of daily living routine, the energy exertion, depending on, you know, your
Yeah.
functional barrier is important. And this is, you know, stuff that often isn't talked about in the
Yeah.
open. These are private, events or
Yeah,
routine.
absolutely.
And
Mhm.
yeah, it's super important. The correlation, and this used to drive me crazy as a clinician, is we'd be helping our patients with shoe donning challenges, and we would give them this elongated adaptive equipment. There's like a reacher, a long handled shoehorn, a
Yeah.
sockade, and something called a dressing stick. When I was practicing, the sockade would work. Often
Mhm.
have Hemi sockades that have one pull kind
Yeah.
of cord, and when I would try to use the shoe donning equipment, it just wouldn't work. There'd be
Yeah.
reachers trying, and if the person had hip precautions or they were getting tired easy, they'd be trying to move all these things, and it just wasn't working. I
Yeah.
was taught by my clinical instructor to recommend these devices. It's used commonly in practice, and it just wasn't working. And
Yeah.
this frustration for me, it would just drive me crazy. It's just when you're an OT or physical therapist or, you know, a clinician, it's not about the paycheck.
Yeah.
You put this on you. I wasn't able to help this individual do it. And to your point about attitude and perception, I mean, footwear is the only article of clothing that you're pretty much going to interface with every day, multiple times a day.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
you want those kicks to look fly. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And
Yeah.
having those attractive shoes
To
with it.
give you a kind of an introduction in that, an interesting bit for me is my wife is not perceived as disabled. She's able-bodied in terms, she has all her limbs, all her bits function well. However, she's a senior nurse in a hospital back here in Scotland. She is on her feet all day, every day, putting on plaster casts, helping people in beds, everything. And last year, just before last year, she went and spoke to her OT at the work, said, look, this isn't what, my feet are absolutely in agony. Can you help? And said, of course. So she got a shoebox turned up. They measured her feet and everything. She got a shoebox turned up. She opened up the box and she was like, what the actual bleep is this? She brought them home. I kid you not, Joseph. I cannot describe to you what I saw. And this is no disrespect to our local National Health Service, but the shoes that my wife was offered in the year 2020 were the same shoes she would have been offered in 1940. And she only wore them, she'll kill me for telling you this, she only wore them for a month because of the ridicule. People were like, Julie, what's with the clown feet? You know what I mean? She had these big, bulky, black foot, black sole, heavy blue leather, big, thick eyelets. They were horrendous. They were like something out of a Disney film. And God love it, she said, I can't do that. So I hope when Friendly gets here and I can introduce her to the shoes and let her see what's going to happen because of easy access, because my wife struggled with that because of her ankles. She's very bad ankles. So this is not just about the disability issue. This is about a commonality. Anybody that's got feet needs shoes most of the time. And the best way to do that is to get the best shoes that you can afford. There's other adaptive shoes, I'm sure, but the ones that I've seen are way out of my price range, just so expensive. But the other wee thing I'd like to say though is the thing that my wife was really keen to find is a pair of shoes that are medically produced in a sense, but don't look like that. She's looking for a pair of straightforward black shoes which have all the medical things that you know about, Joe, but nobody else does. you know, equality works when you can't see it. You know what I mean? It just looks like another piece of equipment that's natural and normal and everyday. That's when equality works. I've got a situation just now where 2 years ago I'm having real problems with my left leg, and my wife and I decided we need to get adaptive equipment in terms of an electric wheelchair. And I went online and was literally in tears saying to Julie, I am 57 going on 18, and I'm having to sit in the most horrendous, grotesque, practically functioning wheelchair. It's horrible, horrible. And I just I typed in cool wheelchairs. Absolutely nothing came up apart from one, and that was Whill, Whill. I clicked on that and I nearly fell off my seat. Innovation with aesthetics, frankly. And I bought that. Quite expensive, but I bought it because it's one of the coolest looking wheelchairs you'll ever sit in. And somebody like me who's a poser, somebody like me that likes to try and look as good as I can, worked for me. And I don't mind getting out in that wheelchair at any time. It just looks cool, like me. So I don't know if that helps.
No, absolutely. I've heard you reference the Whill wheelchair before. I believe it's manufactured out of Japan, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got places in America and Britain as well. There's a company, TGA, I think they're called. That's where I bought it from here. But it's just a remarkable, I mean, it works from my app. I can call the wheelchair to me and it'll literally come on its own. Seriously. How cool is that? Sounds like a gimmick, but it's not. When I'm sitting in my bed and I'm hurting and not feeling great, I can fire up the wheelchair and basically call it to come to the side of the bed. And I can use my thumb. We've got opposable thumbs. So as long as I've got my thumb, I can wheel it along using the app. Incredible. So that's, that adaptive technology. The whole adaptive technology world need to come together. And that's why the Abilities Expo, brilliant idea, great idea. I mean, I live in Scotland and I'm like, bleep, wish I lived in America so I could be closer to it, because I'm miles away I'm in a small town in the west coast of Scotland. You know what I mean? But I've now downloaded the app thing, so I know what it's about.
Yeah, no, the balance of the aesthetic and the functionality is super important. We're always kind of on the pendulum. We're trying to
hand in hand. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hit smack in the middle. And
yeah,
I have kind of a funny story. And when we first came out with Friendly Shoes, we came out with one shoe, and we thought that this shoe is going to work for everyone. Just one of those things you just gotta laugh, because we were
learning curve.
2 years, almost 2 years down the road, and we just realized, based on feedback, and again, that superpower of just listening, right? Develop community, and just asking different people, different challenges, different life experiences, and then that's how we ended up moving to the understanding. We have to have different shoes. We have to have different lasts. We have to have different pull tabs. We have to have different toe areas, right? Different circumferences in the ankles for the potential accommodation for these orthoses, your SMOs, AFOs, KAFOs. No, that was definitely a challenge. And the one thing that we kind of, in a sense, we're a male dominant team. That's just how it shook up. Our lack of ability to focus on the aesthetic was something we really were getting wrong. And that is so important for that attitude and perception.
An area that I was really keen on was brought to my attention last week. Since I've heard about Friendly Shoes and did some research on you, obviously, and etc., because I'm really keen to support you to get it out there. It wasn't until I was chatting to a friend of mine who's completely blind. An area that never crossed my mind. And I was chatting away to Alex, and we were chatting, and I was asking him about his shoes. Now, in theory, he's got standard feet. size 9s. So they're just normal feet. But what he was telling me is, if he could find a shoe which was easy access, which allowed him to know which was left, which was right, to let him know whether it was his shoes or his wife's shoes, because his wife's blind. So how do they know whose shoes is which? So with your development and the way that you get the eye pull and the zip part, he already can't wait. He can't wait to see these shoes or feel these shoes, sorry, to get a feel for that, to see if it makes it easier for him. The only thing we need is an app so he can get the shoes to crawl towards them so that he doesn't have to find them. That's a challenge. That's a challenge.
That would be an amazing app. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm blessed with having Ryan and our team with the business sense, creating shoes, making them friendly for individuals based on their needs is what I absolutely love. I mean, this is perhaps my struggle, my restless mind that just doesn't, ever stop. Will hopefully be perceived as a gift in the future. And if you do have the visual impairment, and depending on the severity of the visual impairment, I'm sure we could make accommodations. Huge.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah, dark background, light foreground, stamping left, right. Nice contrast, difference between the upper and the inner lining might help an individual with impairment. The lighting is usually pretty important. Lighting that might help. We are working on our kids, which we've been talking about adults so much, but we're delving into the kids as we speak. We will be launching our first kid line in the next couple of weeks. It will be on Zappos Adaptive.
Wow, good.
The best teams really that we've come across, really just helping elevate our game and showing us our vulnerabilities.
Well, I think something that's important for there is obviously these children are the adults of the future. And if you can get their attitude and perception right when they're children, young, they will grow up to be confident adults, and regardless of their needs. And that's what we're trying to achieve. And I know that it might sound we're talking about shoes. Shoes won't change the world. Well, do you know what? They might not change the world, but they'll certainly change the world for one person at a time. If you can build a good shoe, that'll help somebody in their day.
It's everything, and making sure to hit these details. We're looking into the materials. We're trying to make them sensory friendly for children that might have, tactile hypersensitivities. Limit the inner lining with the location and the amount of stitching you have. One thing about kids is, and this used to drive me crazy, and now when I speak to some parents with children with disabilities and we don't have the shoes in hand, they're missing motor opportunities throughout the day. And things that people forget is that the ability for the child to explore their environment is everything. This is how they are going to learn, learning the difference in materials, how things work. Their ability to get eye-to-eye level with their peers is super important for their social development. So we're really excited about the kids. I'm thinking about that balance impairment thing. I think I said before, and falls. Children have falls too. It's actually a huge cause of hospitalization in the United States that often is looked at in addition to adults. But one of it's the highest risk factor in having a fall is if you've had a fall prior within 6 months. So if you've fallen and you get to month 3, month 4, you're at the highest probability of fall. Every comorbidity that you add to that list increases that probability more. Footwear is so important. This is not researched enough at all. We've seen a lot of stuff, and our other business partner, Edwin, is actually a PhD in research, and we're trying to go to the nuts and bolts of these research studies correlating falls and footwear. And a lot of this stuff is inconclusive. He could really pick holes in research. So anyone listening here and you have a research background, feel free to contact us. We would love to work with someone and look further into this. That stand, pivot, transfer, if you are going into toileting, and let's face it, it's physiology. You don't really have the stop button. Oh, just hold on, I'll get to this later. You need to go. So the ability to get the shoe on your foot and complete this transfer safely. It's everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah, definitely.
easing caregiver assistance is that if
Yeah.
anyone's had the opportunity to be at a facility, Colin, I know you spoke to about a year, about 12 months of recovery after your motor vehicle
Yeah.
accident, but often I hate to generalize, it's gals that tend to be the heroes of healthcare, these certified nursing assistants. We call them CNAs in the US, but the ratio that they have from patients to them, it's 8 to 1, sometimes higher.
Wow.
These gals are working really hard, and anything we could do to make their life easier, right? The, the individual
Definitely.
difficulties putting on the shoes. I mean, we want to help it any way that people just don't realize until you actually get to see it, I guess, from a clinical lens, how important footwear is. Oh my gosh.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
again, it seems to be the aesthetic is always at the
Yeah.
top of the importance. And you referenced the shoes that were currently on the market during your 35 or so years.
Honestly,
Accident.
shocking.
We used to refer to them in clinical land, and you'd have these podiatrists recommending these shoes. They were dinosaur shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dinosaur shoes.
That's a fact.
Dude, they look like
That's
it.
a fact.
And like, how has this not been addressed?
Yeah.
I hope that we
And
get
also the weight of the shoe that Julie had. OMG, honestly, unwearable. They're just unwearable. Tragic. Tragic.
when we first started, we were looking so much into the outsole materials and to make it anti-slip. And Eureka, I have an idea. Just make them rubber. And then
Yeah.
you put the rubber on a scale and you're like, this thing is over. I mean, it's like a pound each. So
Right.
we just passed our non-slip test with our new shoes that are upcoming through a testing agency where we manufacture. And yeah, we're under half a pound. We're under 8 ounces
Wow.
of built shoes, which
Wow.
is incredible. And as we know, this is going to decrease the amount of energy people use, not
Correct.
picking up the shoe and donning, but also their movements throughout the day. We've had some real positive responses thus far with our community that we have with Parkinson's. And you have that shuffling gait that often is
Definitely.
characteristic of the condition. And having these lightweight shoes, it's tremendous. Sometimes
I mean, for somebody with cerebral palsy, with a hemiplegia, that the weight of the shoe is absolutely imperative. Being light is helpful to them because you're right, not being able to lift your foot like front, over and over and over. You're going to trip and get hurt. Getting the right shoe is essential, frankly. And we're not just talking about shoes here, but the shoe's part of the whole outfit. You know what I mean? It's jeans, jumper, shirt, hat, whatever. But to forget the shoes, I mean, I've got a friend who has spina bifida, and I was talking to him last week about friendly shoes. This is no joke. I don't know if you can help him, Joe, somebody like this, but Gordon has been wearing the same shoes for literally 50 years. What I mean by that is these medical shoes made by the NHS to fit the feet of someone who has an unusual shaped foot, let's say, through their spina bifida. I am desperate for him to try a pair of trainers. He's literally never worn any other shoe. And all those years, whether he's wearing jeans, shorts, a suit, it's the same shoes, same pair of shoes. It's got to be a way of him experiencing freedom of having a different shoe. You would think.
The freedom of choice and a lot of individuals, thankfully we have this Abilities Expo where, this community can get together and provide these solutions and make these adjustments. People just don't realize that they necessarily have the freedom of choice, and perhaps they haven't had the freedom of choice until now. If anyone listening does have footwear challenges or ADL challenges, please contact us anytime. And our friend, like, this is my absolute passion, and I do it. I think I could create a shoe for anyone. I don't accept losing. I just don't. You make adjustments, and with Lee Mackey that we referenced earlier, I mean, he's a shoe dog. That's the gentleman you met during the disco night.
Yeah.
Bringing these minds together from our kind of clinical background and his shoe dog background. We have
Yeah.
another gal named Tamara that's on the team, and gosh, she is good. I never really realized how many colors of red there are. I
All
mean,
right.
subtle adjustments in color, and oh my gosh, I blame my gender for this, Colin. Really?
Right.
But she'll look at a color and just these subtle adjustments that I guess we weren't picking up, that she picks
Wow.
up. A lot of again, I hate to generalize based on gender, gals tend to be a little more detail oriented with the colors. I know my
Yeah.
wife we're picking different paints for the house, and I've given up. It's which color gray do you want? And I'm like, you could just choose, but these details are so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great thing you're doing, and I'm certainly more than happy to help in any way that I can, however that sits. Regardless, I've certainly got lots of friends, lots of people around the not necessarily the world, but lots of people who would benefit from a decent pair of shoes that fit comfortably, safely, and aesthetically. That's what you're looking for. And as I say, friendly shoes, not just about shoes, it's about friendly people. That's what I think.
No, thank you so much. And hey, Colin, we really appreciate your time and some of the highlights.
No worries.
With Friendly Shoes, it's really important for us, and our vision was to have ability shoes. And we don't want to be the disability shoes. It's wider fitting shoes, all the right stuff in all the right places. Depending on the model that you choose, we want to make putting on shoes easier for everyone. That's a super important part to us, or individual that might be in a wheelchair or using loft strands or crutches to assist with their functional ambulation. Right, they're searching and buying the same shoes as someone that is able-bodied. Everybody's wearing the same kicks, and it's super important. And hopefully we could get you all fitted in the right shoes, and where you could really perpetuate that your perception and attitude. We want you to have the perception and attitude. It's super important. This is how you culture of life. You have challenges come on a daily basis, and you're ready to overcome that, and making sure you're your best self, you're in your best posture as you're approaching those challenges.
For sure, sir. For sure. Is that a wrap?
What do you think? You got an Irish and a Scottish guy. We could ramble on for days if you want. Sometimes it doesn't stop.
Where's your family from? Are you Irish descendant?
I'm a poor Irish peasant stock. So
where from?
I'm a descendant of orphans. Our surname is McCartney.
Right.
No relation to Paul McCartney.
No.
My parents, as you can see with the vowels after the name, I'm Italian Irish. My father left when I was little, kind of domestic abuse stuff. The Italian, they just met in the Catholic Church in Orange, New Jersey, which is an inner city not far from Ellis Island, and
wow.
Just I'd say full survivor. Genetics. It's just that, knock on wood, I really get sick a lot. I don't really, I'm strong-minded, sometimes, too strong-minded than I have to be, but part of that stubbornness.
Well, I live about 12 miles by the crow flies to Northern Ireland. Literally just across the water.
It's close.
Most Southern Scots are from Irish descendancy. They're actually called Galloway Irish because the link between Ireland and Scotland. And in between that, you have the Vikings who travelled all the way up the west coast. My name's Duthie, D-U-T-H-I-E, but way back in the 15th century, it was Duthac, D-U-T-H-U-C. And there's a cathedral up in the Highlands, which I'm going to see hopefully soon. And so there's a lot of connection there between the Norse and the Irish and the Scots. We are all one big family.
Yeah, no. When I talk to you and I talk to Lee, it's like you guys are like my uncles. I'm not kidding. Just real, hyper.
But I'll be the good-looking uncle. He's the wealthy one.
Yes. My grandma's maiden name was Quinn.
Quinn, okay, right?
I
Yeah,
think it was, Irish too. And my beard
definitely Irish.
turns red.
Ah,
So the Irish.
well, you need to come across to Scotland then and get a chance.
100%.
Come over here.
After they lift all this stuff, we have every intention of going over there. Or maybe
Horrendous.
Australia.
Yeah. Well, my son's moving to Australia. He was supposed to have moved to Australia actually, 2 years, a year and a half ago, but COVID's put paid to that. He lives in Berlin at the moment, but he's hopefully moving to Canberra, which is a nightmare for me because traveling that length of time would be difficult. But he's got to live his life. He's like his dad. He's a go-getter. So
he's in Berlin, Germany.
He's in Berlin. Yeah.
How did he end up there?
He met a German lady. He met a German girl in Australia, and they lived together in Berlin. Lovely couple. No, my son's a bit of an entrepreneur. He's had a hard time when he was younger. A hard time, but he has proven everybody wrong. He was in what they call stage 3 learning, in his kind of junior school, meaning he got a lot of support. Now he basically manages a cafe in Berlin, but when he moves to Australia, he'll be managing a restaurant. So he's a remarkable young man. My other son is remarkable also. He's just a year older than Stuart. He lives in Glasgow. He's just like me, off his head, frankly, in a good way. But he's a remarkable young man too. And I've been very privileged. They don't see my disability at all. Literally. I get no. In fact, we got into trouble at Disneyland once. We were on a bridge in Disneyland in Florida. And I was in one of these electric buggies that you hire from Disneyland. And the two boys were standing in the back. And we went to this bridge and I thought, oh, there's a really nice photograph. So I kind of got out the buggy and kind of leaned against the wall to keep myself, the bridge, to hold myself up. They thought it would be funny to kid on to play at stealing the buggy. So they stole the buggy. Everybody else saw it as a real theft. And the Disney police were chasing my two sons all over the place, trying to get the buggy back. And I was like, no, that's my son. We're just playing. And Americans, no disrespect, like, God damn it, man, you can't play like that. You can't steal a man's wheelchair. You got to give him it back. And I was like, it's fine. It's not a problem. Oh, Lordy. I could go on and on, I'm afraid, Joe. Hundreds of stories. Full of stories. Hi, Ryan, you still awake?
Oh, of course. Just about to get my children out.
The
Hey,
Disney police are scary. The Disney police are they're their own entity.
Yes.
I'm serious.
Oh, yeah, I know. Sorry, Ryan, what were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, I've been fascinated by this conversation. You have drawn out the very best of Joseph, and we are all grateful. Thank you. Let's do more of these soon. Yeah.
Just let me know what you need and when. What I'm trying to do at the moment is I've got maybe 4 or 5 definites, people who have an impairment, but I know that Lee's a wee bit anxious about. Is this not recording? Not recording. It's not.